for calling me back.
I'm talking to you right now. Let's just get one thing straight. I am not the hero of this story. That's me, Dev. And I'm absolutely in love with this woman. No one is ever gonna come between us. In case you didn't know, this is a meeting for addicts in recovery.
I scream at my mother. I fight with my brothers. None of it is enough. My ex-boyfriend kicked me out of my own place and took my dog Baranda. So you know what? I'm gonna kill him.
Yo! Wait! He's gonna kill Russell!
She was just sharing. People share to grow, to vent.
Just because you got a crush on him, maybe you're reading
What?
too much.
Bro, it's not about a crush, okay?
Maybe you're getting a little...
We're doing something together. We're trying to save somebody. Ma'am. Yes, yes.
Feels better? My mom hates me. You gotta talk to her. Say you're Manuel. Manuel! That's not my identity!
My name is Manuel. Is your daughter Regina home? What are we gonna do? We're just two regular people.
Why do you idiotas keep thinking I need saving?
Feeling dejected by reality. Although God's time does not treat COVID, it may alleviate isolation, longing for human contact, and lack of purpose.
Smells like leche podrida. Like rotten milk.
All right, how about you two mooks over there? Come on up here and get a hug.
No, sir. Very, very good. Thank you.
Come on. Keep coming back.
What exactly do you think is going on?
Keep coming back.
You're desperate.
Keep coming back.
And we only manipulate when we're desperate, right?
Keep coming back. Keep coming back.
I have faith he'll die in God's time.
God's time.
God's time.
Hey, I love you. Okay. Say it back. You're my boy. Yeah, you're my boy. No, say I love you. I appreciate you.
Who's he?
That's my assistant, Manuel.
Hey, Manuel. I'm sorry. Hola, Manuel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze. Breezeway Productions, The Breeze. We bring the latest in independent films and film festival news, and we're happy to have with us today Daniel Antebi to talk about the film God's Time. How are you, Daniel?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Right on. Thanks for coming on the show. So tell me a little bit about God's Time.
God's Time, man. God's Time is a movie about two addicts in recovery trying to stop a woman from committing murder in a 24-hour romp through New York City. And we shot it in 2020, a few years back. And it was from like concept to screen or concept to shooting in about 100 days. So it was a bit of a wild chase to make the movie too.
Yeah, there's a lot of chase scenes in the movie as well. It gets very high paced. But we'll start at the beginning. So where did the community of addicts come into the script for your inspiration?
Totally. Yeah. I've been in recovery for 5 years. So it was essentially born out of my own experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So people say you write what you know. So that's where the atmosphere is coming from. So when you're putting together the cast, you have the lead actor that's in the film, Ben Groh, and the co-starring with Dion Costelloe. So both of them are addicts and best friends. So did they have any experience with that, or did you have to coach them for the style of their characters?
Totally. I actually met Ben in recovery, and I didn't even know that he was an actor. He just said to me that he was an artist, and then eventually I found out that he was an actor, and I told him I would write a movie for him. So, and then as we were conceptualizing different ideas, he said, well, actually, who you really need to meet is Dion, who's also in recovery. And so I met Dion, and I was like, these guys are, there's such an interesting contrast between the two of them. They come from this world, and they both have their own charisma. So it was a no-brainer to write a movie for them.
Yeah, they were both very colorful characters, especially Ben, who always does a lot of breaking of the fourth wall in the film. I was curious why you decided to make that as a directorial choice.
Yeah, I think that there is kind of two reasons. There's one a bit on the process end and one on the creative end. I think on the process end, the way I got to know Ben was in meetings, hearing him share. and he's so loquacious, and every other word is tetrasyllabic, and he pulls references out of nowhere. And I was so bewildered by the way he talks. And so I said, okay, how can I give this character an opportunity to talk as much as possible? And then on the other end, his problem as a character is that he hijacks every situation into being about him. And it only makes sense that he would hijack the movie. And when we're a really important scene, he's not only giving you context through the fourth wall, but he's also telling you what he's thinking, and being annoyed about how we're not paying enough attention to him. So that those were kind of the two-pronged reasoning for the fourth wall breaks.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that throughout the film, which definitely gives me an insight now. It's what he's thinking, and then what he does. Like at one of the highest, suspenseful moments of it, he talks to the camera and says, "This is your time. This is where you go to shine." And then he goes and then puts into play what he's thinking. So that does make sense in that aspect. And I was talking with you about the style. When the movie starts off, I'm watching things that are very colorful and animated and quick cuts, and you have animation literally that's in it, and rainbows, and it just had like a very Adult Swim, Tim and Eric vibe.
Totally.
Do you also have that as an inspiration, or just what was your choice with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the movie starts ultimately the movie goes through waves, and one larger wave of going from being high to sobering up. And you can even notice it in the color in the film, where by the end of the film, the colors are less saturated. It's like duller. It's a little bit more muted. The pacing is even slower. And we actually have like a sequence or two that feel more removed. So the idea was that if that's where we're going to end, what's the opposite end of the spectrum where we can begin? And it was kind of this Adult Swim, exactly like TikTok. I wanted it to feel like a scroll, like you were just scrolling on TikTok, getting to know these characters and their lives, and then slowly when they go to a meeting, you would need to go to a meeting.
When they were talking about sponsors, I had that feeling when you had the slides going through each of the types of sponsors, whatever it meant to be. It's like, this person, you can have your, like, to a higher being, could be a doorknob or whatever you want. It's like, as long as you have a higher being, then you answer to it. So I did get that feel of a scrolling vibe when it was in that moment. So you were able to capture that, and takes place in New York City, greatest city in the world. Totally biased, obviously, because I'm reporting from New York. So you definitely shot in a lot of different places, like you were in subways and parking garages and apartments and where the AA space was. How was it working in New York City and then getting all these locations to really make it a true New York film?
Cool. I think getting locations in New York is tricky no matter what. And it was fall of 2020 when getting in a stranger's public space within 6 feet was like a feat. So it was definitely tricky. And it was Danielle Levy and our locations person, Danielle was our associate producer, was fearless and putting up signs around town and just knocking on people's doors whose houses looked right for the film. So the way we did it was classic New York grit. And then it was also just thanks to the crew and the cast and me having, I've lived here for 9 years, and a lot of the cast having grown up here and been born and raised, we were able to be really agile and smart about, okay, we've got 15 blocks in Bushwick. How do we double that for Queens and the Bronx? And then we had this like one Upper West Side location. We were like, okay, but how do we also double the Upper West Side for this one part where people are in Jamaica, Queens? And so it was a lot of, and then in post, we even had like, we made the 68th Street stop 168th Street. Like we added a one. And then someone on Letterboxd was like, the 6 train doesn't stop where they say they are. And I thought
they called you out on it.
And I loved it. I love that they called us out. I think
that's great.
It shows that they're true New Yorkers.
Yeah, and that's some Hawkeye vision there. I didn't even notice that, but that's cool that you're able to showcase that. So in essence, you do what you got to do. You get the shots, you shoot all over the city, and in one of the hardest years in our existence, essentially, you're able to get it done. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a wonderful, high-paced thriller with a very interesting and exotic way of filmmaking and storytelling. So God's Time. Do you know where people can go to check it out? As of right now.
So on Friday, the 24th of February, people can go see it in theaters and on demand. And then eventually, I think it'll be on AMC Plus and potentially other SVOD things.
Okay. Well, we'll be able to tag all of those links below and then showcase it to our audience. So I wanted to thank you for spending the time to talk with us today about God's Time. Daniel Antebi, director, writer of God's Time.
Thank you, Alex.